So, friends, the judicial branch of our government, federal court judges are stepping up, holding strong, and dealing directly with the overreach, the abuse of power, and yes, the crimes of Donald Trump and his administration. We're going to start with the new reporting, and then we're going to have a look at the new opinion issued by the chief of federal district court in Washington, D.C., Judge James Boasberg, who has just found that the Trump administration is in criminal contempt of court. And importantly, in this new 46-page court ruling, Judge Boasberg also sets out next steps. But let's start with the new reporting. This from NBC News. Headline: Judge finds cause to hold Trump administration in criminal contempt over deportation flights. A federal judge said in an order Wednesday that he has found probable cause to hold the Trump administration in contempt, criminal contempt, over deportation flights it sent to El Salvador. U.S. District Judge James Boasberg found the government's actions on that day demonstrate a willful disregard for the court's order, sufficient for the court to conclude that probable cause exists to find the government in criminal contempt. The court does not reach such conclusion lightly or hastily. Indeed, it has given defendants, the Trump administration, ample opportunity to rectify or explain their actions. None of their responses has been satisfactory, Judge Boasberg wrote. Boasberg said the Trump administration could purge his contempt finding by taking custody of the people it deported despite his order and giving them hearings so they can challenge the allegations against them. The government, the Trump administration, would not need to release any of those individuals, nor would it need to transport them back to the homeland for that process, the judge wrote. Quote, in the event the defendants, the Trump administration, do not choose to purge their contempt, the court will proceed to identify the individual or individuals responsible for the contumacious conduct by determining whose specific act or omission caused the noncompliance, he wrote, and that person or those people would be prosecuted. Okay, friends, let's go right to Judge Boasberg's 46-page opinion and order. No, I'm not going to read all of it, but what I want to do is read his opening salvo and his preliminary conclusion, and then we're going to jump ahead about 40 pages to a section that he titles Next Steps, because frankly, I think that is some of what we're going to be most interested in, right? Where are we going from here? What happens next now that the Trump administration has been found to be in criminal contempt of court? So, in the case of JGG et al. And others, plaintiffs, those are the wrongfully deported Venezuelan migrants, versus Donald Trump et al., defendants, memorandum opinion. On the evening of Saturday, March 15th, 2025, this court issued a written temporary restraining order barring the government, the Trump administration, from transferring certain individuals into foreign custody pursuant to the Alien Enemies Act. At the time the order issued, those individuals were on planes being flown overseas, having been spirited out of the United States by the government, the Trump administration, before they could vindicate their due process rights by contesting their removability in a federal court as the law requires. Rather than comply with the court's order, the government, the Trump administration, continued the hurried removal operation. Early on Sunday morning, hours after the order issued, the government, transferred 2 plane loads of passengers protected by the TRO into a Salvadoran mega prison. As this opinion will detail, the court ultimately determines that The government's actions on that day demonstrate a willful disregard for the court's order, sufficient for the court to conclude that probable cause exists to find the government, the Trump administration, in criminal contempt. The Constitution does not tolerate willful disobedience of judicial orders, especially by officials of a coordinate branch who have sworn an oath to uphold it. To permit such officials to freely annul the judgments of the courts of the United States would not just destroy the rights acquired under those judgments, it would make a solemn mockery of the Constitution itself. So fatal a result must be deprecated by all. Friends, as the judge said, allowing this lawlessness by the Trump administration, this criminal contempt of court, by willfully defying federal court orders, allowing it to go unchecked, would make a solemn mockery of the Constitution. Okay, we're going to jump ahead about 40 pages in Judge Boasberg's ruling, and we're going to talk about the section that he labels next steps. So, what now? The court last details the next steps that these proceedings may take. First, before initiating any criminal contempt proceedings, courts typically allow the contumacious party an opportunity to purge its contempt. That is, to remedy its violation by voluntarily obeying the court order. The most obvious way for defendants to do so here is by asserting custody of the individuals who were removed in violation of the court's class-wide TRO, temporary restraining order, so that they might avail themselves of their right to challenge their removability through a habeas proceeding. Per the terms of the TRO, the government, the Trump administration, would not need to release any of those individuals, nor would it need to transport them back to the homeland. The court will also give the defendants, the Trump administration, an opportunity to propose other methods of coming into compliance, which the court will evaluate. Friends, let me pause there, because we are forever hearing Donald Trump, lying about, carping about, bloviating about how, this judge, this radical lunatic judge, Judge Boasberg, just wants criminals to roam free on the streets of the United States. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Yes, that is the rare triple bullshit that Donald Trump's claims deserve. The judge said, you need not release these Venezuelan immigrants that you wrongfully, unconstitutionally, and in violation of my order deported to El Salvador. You don't even need to return them to the United States. You simply need to take control of them, custody of them, and arrange for them to have their due process rights fulfilled. What does that look like? It might look like some kind of virtual hearing with a federal judge in the U.S., at which time each and every immigrant who was wrongfully deported will have his constitutional due process rights of notice and opportunity to be heard, satisfied, honored, fulfilled. So enough with the Trump bullshit about, what will happen if this court order issued by Judge Boasberg is complied with by the Trump administration. No, it doesn't mean that, gang members, dangerous gang members and killers will have to roam free on the streets of the United States. As you might already suspect, that was all my editorial addition to Judge Boasberg's order. The order continues. In the event the defendants, the Trump administration, do not choose to purge their contempt, the court will proceed to identify the individual or individuals responsible for the contumacious conduct by determining whose specific act or omission caused the noncompliance, by requiring declarations. Should those be unsatisfactory, the court will proceed either to hearings with live witness testimony under oath or to depositions conducted by the plaintiffs. The next step would be for the court, pursuant to the federal rules of criminal procedure, to request that the contempt be prosecuted by an attorney for the government. If the government, the Trump administration, the Department of Justice declines, or the interest of justice requires, well, then the court will appoint another attorney to prosecute the contempt. And then, friends, on page 46, Judge Boasberg's conclusion. For the foregoing reasons, the court will find probable cause that defendants, the Trump administration's actions constitute contempt. It will provide them an opportunity to purge such contempt. If they opt not to do so, the court will proceed to identify the contemnor or contemnors and refer the matter for prosecution. A separate order so stating will issue this day. Signed, James E. Boasberg, Chief Judge. And that, my friends, is how to go about holding an abusive, corrupt, indeed criminal president and his administration accountable, and not allow them to make a solemn mockery of our Constitution. Because justice matters.